Hello and welcome to Jamie TV, where we do not pissy pants about. In 2020, Nembrini Audio changed the game up for iOS guitar players by bringing their super high quality guitar plugins for desktop to our iPads and iPhones. Now I know that game changing is a word that's used far too often by YouTubers, but I feel that in this case it's never been more appropriate. I for one was sick to death of trying to get decent results recording my guitars with Interapp Audio, which let's face it is well out of date. And to be honest, some of the big name guitar apps for iOS are still using it. Like, get the net, dudes. Anyway, as happy as I was to get fantastic high quality guitar plugins on my iPad and my iPhone, I was like, what about a bass amp? Because bass is my first love, it's my number one instrument, and I really wanted something of that quality for bass guitar from Nembrini. Well, here it is. It's the Nembrini BlackIce Beta Gamma. Is it the bass amp that we've been waiting for? Let's find out. Normally when we look at the face of a bass amplifier that's new to us, we work from left to right. We begin on the left hand side where we usually see the input stage and then a preamping stage, and we work our way across logically figuring out what everything does to the right hand side where the master output usually is. But this app is based on the Dark Glass Alpha Omega, which is not a complicated amplifier to use, but it doesn't have a typical layout. I think the best way to get our heads around the way this amplifier works are to look at a certain few controls that relate to the clean sound first. The first thing that we need to do is to wind up the input control, and this will determine how much bass signal is coming into the amp. I'm going to leave it quite low for the moment so I can speak over the top of it. This is your direct out control. If we wind this round to the left, it's going to make that signal darker, which it does without muddying it up. If we wind it to the right, it makes it brighter, clearer, which it does without making it sound too harsh. The gain control will set the level of your signal before it hits the graphic. So the more you wind it round to the right, the more saturated your signal is going to be. Now the master and output controls confused me a little at first because this control is not on the Alpha Omega, and I don't think it's on the desktop version of this plugin either. But the idea is this control, the master, is going to be the level of everything before it hits the power amp section, and the output is a master volume for the app. So by balancing these two controls we can bring different colorations to the sound of the amp. Each band of the simple but very effective graphic equalizer can be boosted or cut by 12 dB, and on this side of the graphic we have a low shelf filter centered at 80 Hz, and on this side a high shelf filter centered at 5 kHz. let's turn our attention to that wonderful, filthy beta gamma section of the amplifier. I'll just bring in my bass with the input here. So there's my clean bass sound. Just knock it back a little bit so I can talk. Okay, let's lose the compression. We're going to talk about that later. Now I press this button here to activate the beta gamma section of the amplifier. That's these 4 controls and these 2 switches. Now the blend control is going to blend between our clean signal over here and dirty signal over here. So since I was talking dirty, I'm going to leave it right around here. Drive is going to determine how much overdrive we are adding to our signal. So let's wind that up. And level is going to be how loud we want this beta gamma section to be. So seeing as how I've wound all the way over to filth over here, if I turn this level down, we have nothing. Let's have lots of drive and just listen to that for a moment. Now, this amplifier has 2 distortion circuits, beta and gamma, and this mod control here will wind us all the way over to beta over here and gamma all the way around to the right, or any kind of balance in between the two. Now beta is a very kind of tight and controlled kind of overdrive that would be really useful in that kind of modern metal with a lot of dirty guitars, so that you can have a filthy bass sound but not get in the way of the guitars, whereas gamma is a more kind of open, just filthy, wilder distortion sound. So let me just play those for you so you can just hear those. We also have the edge button, which is going to boost your high mids to help you cut through certain kinds of mixers. And punch is going to add some extra bass end into your beta gamma section. So now that we've talked through that, let's just hear it with the gain wound up. And now let's just blend in some clean. Now the problem with using overdrive and distortion, of course, is that there's a lot of associated noise that goes with it that we don't necessarily want. If I just switch on the amp here, you see I've got a pretty filthy sound dialed in here, but I've got some noisy noise that I want to get shut off. So if I just activate the noise gate, what I've done here is I've set the threshold and the range. The range is how much we want to reduce the noise, and the threshold is whereabouts that gate is going to kick in. And I've set it so that I could play a metal style riff but have absolute silence in between those riffs. And without. Now, as you can probably tell, I'm really enjoying this amplifier. There are many things about it that please me, but my favourite thing about it has to be the compressor. It reminds me very much of my signature bass squeezer pedal by Xvive. It's just a one knob solution. So you don't get to set your ratio and your threshold, your attack, your release, all that stuff. It's a one knob solution. Somebody's gone to an awful lot of trouble to dial in like the perfect bass compression solution, and all you have to do is just decide how much of it you want. Now, some people like a transparent compressor, and some people like a compressor that does contribute something to your tone. The nice thing here is, at lower levels, this compressor does sound quite transparent, but when you really wind it up, it does bring something to your tone. It's a tone that's very, very pleasing to me. The compressor, by the way, comes in the chain after the blend control, so it is compressing both your clean and your dirty signal. If we click browse here, you'll see that we get to choose from an awful lot of classic bass guitar cabinets, mic'd up with different mics. I mean, I'm an old guy, I've been playing for a long time, so I've used most of these things, and I'll tell you, it's staggering just how close these emulations are. I am actually a hotkey endorsee, and so I've used all the hotkey stuff many times, and these cabinets just, they've got them down to a T. You can toggle through the cabinets by pressing next or previous, or you can bypass the cabinet if you're looking for that DI from the amp type sound. The controls across the top of the app are common to all Nembrini apps. If you click here, you get to read some information about the app, or if you click here, you can go to an online manual for the app. We can toggle up and down the presets here with the plus and minus without going into the menu. If you make a change to the app, say move something and then regret it, instead of trying to get hold of that control and put it back where it was, I mean, maybe you can't remember exactly where it was, but you can just press undo. You also have a redo. Using the A and B here, you get to have two versions of any preset that you create. So for instance, I created this filthy dirty sound, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy it to B by pressing this here, and now if I press on B, you'll see that it's identical. And all I want from this second version of this sound is I just want it to be louder for when I do a solo. So I'm going to take up my master, and now I've got regular sound, boosted sound. To go into the list of presets, simply click in the window up here where you can actually create your own folders to save your own sounds in. And here we can bypass the current sound. We press this icon here to save a preset, and to bin off a preset we don't like, we press here. Oh yeah, and of course you can just bypass the app to compare your affected sound with your clean signal by simply switching the app off just here. I'm going to wrap up by saying that this is the exact app that we needed for bass guitar on the iOS platform. I've been feeling neglected, but now I feel happy and fulfilled. If you've seen any of my recent videos, you will have noticed that I've gone kind of old school. I've been using a pen and paper as I go along checking out an app, just to make notes of anything that I think could be a bit better, could be improved, and I share it with the audience, I share it with the developer. But today I have nothing to complain about. This app is just wonderful. It's AUV3, it's universal, it doesn't take up much CPU, it gives you a great range of sound shaping possibilities, the cabinets sound wonderful, you can get everything from a great punchy clean tone, a nice pop sound, right through to your very dirty, very distorted, nasty sounds. And you know, everything in between. You can get some fantastic classic old school tones out of it. I'm just thrilled with it. So if you're an iOS musician and you take bass guitar very seriously, This is an app that you should most definitely own, and I'd like to thank Nembrini personally for making me a very happy hippie. As usual, I'm going to leave you by saying, if you enjoyed the video, if it was useful to you, then please give me the old thumb up. Subscribe if you haven't done already. If you'd like to be notified of more nonsense from me, then please do ding my bell. If you'd like to help out the channel in any way, then all the information is down below the video, as is links to my merchandise, my music, my social media, where you're very welcome to stalk me. And what I'd really like to draw your attention to most of all is my Patreon account, because there's a lot of new and very exciting stuff happening there now. As usual, I want you to take care of yourselves, behave, make lots of music, be kind to each other, and don't pissy pants about. See you later.